hopefully you've had an amazing week, wonderful week, and good things have entered into your journey along the way. I don't think we have any visitors this morning. We did last week. That was awesome. But welcome to everyone that is here and everyone that is home observing, participating. I want to mention something before I forget it, because I could do that. What we have is an outline. It's called a guideline for sharing our stories. And what we're going to provide everyone is basically a list of questions that you can take at your leisure in your own comfort zone. That can be in your house, it can be out under a tree or on the riverbank, wherever. But we want you to bring your own talk, your own story, and record it with your smartphone or your whatever. And that way, we can have your story and we can simply upload you. You don't have to get up here and talk in front of a group, but we can upload you and you can actually be a talk for some Sundays. This does a lot of things for us. One thing, it helps us know more about one another's journey, and we'll come back and reconfigure the questions a little bit to kind of take the next step in our journeys for another talk. So, but it also, it's our intent is not to have the same speakers over and over and over and over. And now, as you might imagine, it's a little bit challenging to get additional speakers. But our thinking is, why do we always think in terms of somebody outside of this collective body when we each have a story to tell and we each know we're one, and no one has more of a story or less of a story to share. We're all here to journey together. So we want to collect your story in a way that's most comfortable for you, and we do want to get your story. I envision us having a library, so to speak, of our stories, and so we can have live speakers, but we can also interject recorded your talk, and we'll figure out how to get that. Any ideas, Chuck?
No, I mean, I would ask you when you're finished to ask people who are Zooming to mute their microphones, please.
Okay.
Because we hear crashes and bangs like people are in kitchens.
Yeah. People are really comfortable with Zoom now. So much so that some do not want to be seen because I don't think they're dressed yet or something. That's fine. But for the service, we do need you to mute it so it's not feeding back into our system and being recorded. So anyway, I don't know what the best method of giving you these questions is. Can we take pictures and send it to you? Okay. Okay, there'll be two sides basically, and we'll get that sent out to you real soon. Please participate in this. Everybody has a story, and I'm just amazed at what I hear in different settings, and I'm very excited about having an opportunity for those things to be shared to the whole body. So do take advantage of that. All right, well, let us begin with prayer this morning. Just breathe out all worry, fear, concern, stress. I'd say even memories that no longer serve you on your journey. Just let that out this morning. And take in imagination. A mind that's open to newness, to what we have not personally realized in our journey, but we're ready for now. Maybe it's in the song, maybe it's in the spoken word, maybe it's in a look from one another. But let's send our hearts together, opening, inviting, accepting this beautiful journey we're upon. And let there be life and joy and abundance. And we accept it with joyful, creative minds. The power of the Spirit guides us. Amen.
And now a word from our sponsor. We should do that again.
Okay. Okay. The daily word is pray for others. I am honored by the trust people place in me when they ask for prayer support. As I pray for others, I see each one for whom I pray as divine and know the truth that each one is a living expression of God. My purpose in prayer is not to focus on the particulars of a situation, but to hold a higher view. As I center in prayer, I hold the vision that all challenging circumstances are moving toward a satisfying solution in one way or another. I release all thoughts about the situation that prompted the prayer need and focus on the activity of God. As I pray, I see the life, the love, the wisdom, and the power of God at work, healing, strengthening, and establishing peace in all those for whom I pray. And from Philippians, the verse is, I thank my God every time I remember you, constantly praying with joy in every one of my prayers for all of you. And let's say together the affirmation. I affirm truth for everyone I hold in prayer.
Okay, so you got to pray. Okay.
Oh, my. Good morning,
Good morning.
and good morning to all of those Zoomers out there, the ones that are dressed and the ones that aren't. And first of all, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to share. And Buddy gave me the perfect segue this morning because I'm going to speak of some experiences in my life. And I'd like to thank my support team. My number one supporter is Chuck, and my family members that are Zooming, and my family members that are here with me today. Okay, this book, A Blessing in Disguise, kept calling me. And it's stories by people you may recognize: Dean Ornish, Rachel Naomi Raymond, Bernie Siegel, Joan Borisenko, um, Martha Beck, I don't know, Ann Wilson Schaaf, and others. So, my inspiration. We're experiencing a new normal, like many of you. I've had my ups and downs with COVID 19 and all the precautions and adjustments it entails. For this reason, I'd like to share with you some of the things that I've learned in my life that I'll call hidden blessings. And I truly believe that this virus, what we're going through, is giving each and every one of us an opportunity to excel in this new normal. From this book, I got the quote, "Normal is someone you don't know very well." And I'm beginning to think, this is every day seems to be a new lesson. But what I also noticed is today's daily word helped me because it talks about the purpose in prayer is not to focus on the particulars of a situation, but to hold the higher view. And so if we can remember to pray for a satisfying solution in all of this and release the thoughts of the particulars of the situation and remember that, as well as I've found the third and fifth principles of unity to help me in my life. Of course, I need reminders, post-it notes. I don't have these off the top of my head, just when I need them. But the third one says we're co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. And the fifth one says, through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. So, hidden blessings have provided me with what the Japanese refer to as satori. It's a moment of insight when concepts die and comprehension is born. You have a fresh perspective, an aha moment, so to speak. My own analogy in my life is turning the prism and getting a whole different view of the situation. It's, according to Merriam-Webster, it's awakening or enlightenment. So the unity principles tell us to look and be open and receptive to hidden blessings. but we really need to look for them too. I'm going to give you 3 examples. Now, I have found that hidden blessings may be disguised as, this does not look good. This does not look good. The first example, Chuck and I are living in Fort Leonard Wood. We've just come back from Korea, and we haven't decided where he's going to retire, and we've been down to Fayetteville to visit his folks. Now, it's summertime. It's hot. We're thirsty. We have more than 2 hours left to go, so we pull off I-44 and go to some little burg, because I wasn't familiar with all the area yet. And he gets a Diet Pepsi. You know, one of those super gigantic Diet Pepsis that don't fit in the cup holder? Well, at least they didn't in ours. So we're pulling out of the drive-through, and guess what happens? This whole Pepsi spills all over his lap, all over the car. Needless to say, he's not a happy camper. And so we're having to mop up, clean up, and everything. And while we're doing this, we hear stuff in the background. Not really sure what it is, but we hear like sirens and stuff like that. So we mop up, clean up, and I don't remember how much time it took us, but we got back on the highway. And as we're going down the road, it was quite apparent what our hidden blessing was. Right where we figure we would have been without that Pepsi stop and spill was a section of road that had an accident with injuries and no exit ramp. It was in one of those sections that we have along the highway that you're stuck. And we figured if we hadn't been stuck in it, we would have been pretty close. And so both of us looked at each other like we didn't talk. We just, said thank you. Okay, the second hidden blessing is during Chuck's. These aren't in chronological order. These are just the way I chose to give them. He's on his second deployment to Panama. The children and I are waiting in California to join him. We're waiting for orders. Now, like all children, they talk to the kids at the bus stop. And I tell the kids, I'm going to take you on a tour down the coast in California. Maybe we'll go to Hearst Castle. So they're all excited. We're going away for the weekend. It's just one overnight, but, trying to make time pass and have some excitement. And this was a trip that I wasn't going to take our dogs. We have 2 dogs that had lived with us, gone overseas, been to Germany, back, and their family. But I wasn't taking the dogs, and we had a good friend of the kids that I trusted, an older boy, and he was going to watch the dogs. So he was going to be my sitter. And I gave him permission to stay at the house, play with the dogs. I mean, they're family. They want people. And I had a refrigerator full of food, and he could watch television. Okay, the children and I have a great time. We come back. Somebody tried to break into my house. And I can't describe what that feels like. There are all kinds of emotions. Invasion of privacy, fear. I'm a mother. Can I protect my kids? I don't want them to be afraid. I don't want them to see I'm afraid. So, thank goodness. He had called the police, and the police had come out. The hidden blessing from this was, because I didn't want the kids to be afraid and to know how I truly felt, I took them by the hand and we went and visited every single neighbor all around us and told them that there were possible burglars in the area and that somebody had tried to break in, and the police had been called to my house. And that from now on, they were on the alert and they were watching my house. I kind of fudged a little on that part. But the hidden blessing from that was the fact that we made lifelong friends that became surrogate parents to Russell and Nicole. And I never would have thought that, because in a military community, you know your neighbors. You always do that. But I found out with civilians, you know, you could live 20 years and not know your next door neighbor. So that was definitely a hidden blessing that I had no idea. The third, my parents were living in Liberia. I was living with my maiden aunt in Florida. My brother was in college in Oklahoma. My father wasn't really pleased with his job in Liberia. They'd been there more than 2 years. They didn't have homeschooling. I'd gone to a living room, a house school where we had, my class was in the dining room. Somebody else's class was in the living room, and somebody else's was in the, so we had 3 classes in that house. Anyway, Dad had a chance to change his job and go to Vietnam. This was 1964. I was excited because I was going to be with my family. I was going to live with my folks and our dog Taj, who had lived with them in in Liberia, and we had had Taj for quite some time. She was a rescue dog. And so to me, it was important that I go back and live with my family. So Randy and I met up. We flew from New York to Rome and met my parents, and then from there to Thailand to Vietnam. Now, it was the summer. It was really exciting. I turned 16. I had a new country, a new culture to study. Yes, there were some things that were different about it. But I was a regular teenager. I went swimming. We went to movies. I met new kids. I met kids that were there for the summer and took part in activities. Most of my friends were Catholic, so all the charitable work and volunteer work I did was associated with the Catholic Church. That was one of those times I almost became Catholic. But anyway, Stevie Westmoreland was one of my good friends. Her father was head of the military at that time. Bill Stillwell was my friend. These were people that, you know, I just kind of grew up with. Well, we thought things were normal. We deceived ourselves into thinking we were living a normal life. The violence escalated. It was nothing for us to walk down to take public transportation with tear gas residue in the trees. Well, the violence escalated, and we didn't realize that Vietnam was on the brink of all-out war. There started to be cautious warnings about gatherings of Americans. We still went to parties, but then in January was the Tet Offensive in 1965, and there was a car bomb at the American Embassy March 30th. February 8th, 1965, I'm walking down the hall to my class, and we get an announcement from AFN, which is the Armed Forces Radio. Beginning immediately, all American non-essential personnel and civilians are to be evacuated. Immediately. I can't tell you what that did to me, to us. But it was like you're in denial. Surely that's not true. That's, that can't be true. That's it's the news. They're just trying to broadcast things. They're trying to make it bigger than it is. What about my dad? What about my friends' fathers? What's going to happen to them? What about my dog? I got a kitten at Christmas. These may not seem important questions, but suddenly my whole world was turned upside down. So my friends and I, we went every day to Tonsnud Air Force Base, to the airport to say goodbye to our friends. And we mingled with the Red Cross and the news reporters. And on February 8th, we were evacuated. And my parents had requested a delayed departure because I was a teenager. They weren't babies, they weren't children. We didn't have a medical emergency. And so by the time we were evacuated, there wasn't anybody really left to see us off except my dad. And we were evacuated in what I would call a puddle jumper, burlap seats. The center was cleared out for the luggage. And Dad, insult to injury. We get to the Philippines at night, and there are demonstrations, and there are fires burning, and we can see people as the bus is taking us to the hotel. We can see people demonstrating, and they're burning the American flag. Go to our hotel. Now, this certainly doesn't look like there's any hidden blessing in this. Well, even the universe conspired in this hidden blessing, because my parents had tried to get me into an American school up in the mountains that they had heard was a better school. By the time I got there, all the seats were filled because there were people that had known or suspected about the evacuation, and their children were already registered and already there. So I went to the International School of Manila. And if you haven't guessed by now, my hidden blessing is my husband, because I met Chuck at that high school. And I had the good fortune for him to look me up 7 years later. So I want to share with you that you may be in a situation where things don't look so good, but hold the faith and look and be open and receptive to the hidden blessings that await you. Because from the worst, absolute worst experience in my life, I met Chuck. I mean, life doesn't get better than that. So we're ready. So know yourself, be receptive, and keep looking. Slide, please. So if you'll try to remember that life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And now, if you take a moment. As Cynthia reminded us last week, it's already there. So we'll begin meditation. I'd like you to simply close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath. Think back in your life where you later saw hidden blessings. I'd like you to try to have an outlook that is more of expectancy and coming joy. If you'll take a minute and think, have you ever been on an Easter egg hunt or witnessed one? Try to capture that joy, that expectancy of looking for those surprises that Spirit has just waiting for us. We just have to do our part to be open, to be receptive. And keep that open mind. Now take a deep breath and feel your feet. Come back into the room. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you.
Marcia, thank you. That is,
Wonderful.
yeah. It's not easy to tell our story when it has such significant sharing, but we needed to hear that, so thank you. You right on the money. And we all have the journey, so please look forward to your opportunity to participate and to bless us with your gift of story. Anything else need to be said today? Oh, yes, Norma?
We hold prayers for Miriam Connolly in Mountain Home.
Thank you.
Her husband, Ron, and they've been here many times, passed this 2 days ago.
Oh,
Okay.
And I
Thank-
have a card if anyone wants to sign it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, Chuck?
And for those who came and who were downstairs, and were forced upstairs because there's no sound, give us another week, we'll figure it out, we'll get sound back downstairs. We thought we had the sound fixed, but
Huh.
it plays everything except Zoom. So,
Okay.
we'll figure that out.
I could sing it. But
Yeah.
I could see.
All right, well, let us share a prayer protection together. The light
light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God.
The
Love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. Presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is.
And
Wherever I am, I am.